10 early signs of dementia, what to look out for, and what you can do. Have you ever walked into a room and forgotten why? Or struggled to find a word that used to come so easily? Maybe it's happening more often, and you're starting to wonder, is this just age, or something more? You're not alone in asking these questions. Many older adults worry about changes in memory or thinking. It can feel confusing, even a little scary. But here's the truth, recognizing the early signs of dementia can make a real difference. Today, we'll walk through those signs, gently and clearly. No medical jargon. No panic. Just the honest facts and some hope for the road ahead. Let's begin. Dementia isn't just one disease. It's a word doctors use to describe a group of symptoms that affect memory, thinking, and behavior. These changes slowly make everyday life more difficult. The most common type is Alzheimer's disease, but there are others too. No matter the type, all involve a gradual change in how the brain works over time. Point 1. Memory loss that affects daily life. Everyone forgets things now and then. You might misplace your glasses, forget a neighbor's name for a moment, or walk into a room and wonder why you went in there. That's perfectly normal, especially as we age. But with dementia, memory loss goes beyond the occasional senior moment. It starts to disrupt everyday life. You might forget important dates or events, like birthdays or appointments, even ones you used to always remember. Ask the same question over and over again, not realizing you've already asked it. Rely more heavily on written notes, phone reminders, or even loved ones just to get through the day. Struggle to remember something you were just told, like a news story you heard this morning or a conversation you had an hour ago. It's not about forgetting once, it's about forgetting often, and not remembering later, even with a prompt. You might also find yourself misplacing everyday objects, like your keys or wallet, but instead of simply losing them, you place them in unusual spots, like the freezer or the bathroom cabinet. And then, when you try to retrace your steps, it's as if the memory has vanished. This kind of memory loss can make you feel confused, frustrated, or even embarrassed. But please know, you are not alone. And it's okay to talk about it. Early support can make a big difference. The good news? These signs don't always mean dementia. They could be caused by something else, like stress, medication side effects, or even vitamin deficiencies. That's why it's important to talk to your doctor if you notice these changes happening more often. Point 2. Trouble finding the right words. We've all had moments where a word is on the tip of the tongue. That's perfectly normal. But if it's happening more often, and starting to make conversations difficult, it might be a sign of something more. With early dementia, you may find yourself pausing mid-sentence because you can't remember a simple word. Saying things like that thing you write with instead of pen, or the place we get milk instead of grocery store. Using the wrong word by accident, like saying watch when you meant wallet. Struggling to follow or join conversations, especially in groups, because the words aren't coming as easily. Let's say your friend Martha is telling you about a trip she took, and you want to ask her how the weather was. You know what you want to say, but the word weather just won't come. So instead, you stumble a bit, get frustrated, or maybe even avoid saying anything at all. This can be upsetting, especially if you used to be a great storyteller or someone who enjoyed long chats with family and friends. You might even find yourself withdrawing from conversations because it feels too hard, or embarrassing. If this is happening more frequently, it's worth having a gentle conversation with your doctor. Sometimes these language issues are part of early dementia, but they can also be caused by other conditions like anxiety, medications, or even hearing loss. The key is to notice the pattern. If it's happening more often, and it's getting in the way of daily life, don't ignore it. Point 3. Struggling with everyday tasks. We all have days when things just feel harder than usual, maybe you're tired or distracted. But with early dementia, simple daily tasks that used to be second nature can suddenly feel confusing or overwhelming. You might notice having trouble following the steps in a familiar recipe you've made for years. Struggling to keep track of monthly bills, even if you've always managed the finances in your household. Feeling unsure about how to use a microwave or TV remote, even though you've done it countless times before. Getting confused about how to plan your day, like forgetting your usual routine or mixing up appointments. Let's take an example. Imagine Mr. Harold, who's always loved making his famous Sunday stew for the family. Lately, though, he's finding it harder to remember the ingredients. He gets the steps mixed up, he adds the meat before the onions, forgets the spices, and ends up feeling flustered and discouraged. That's not like him. Or maybe someone like Mrs. Thompson, who's always balanced the checkbook with ease. But now, the numbers just don't seem to add up, and she's missing due dates or getting confused by her bank statements. This kind of change can be quiet at first, and it might be easy to brush off. But when familiar activities become frustrating or feel unfamiliar, it could be a sign that something deeper is going on. Again, not every slip is dementia. But if it's happening regularly, and you're noticing more struggle than before, it's time to check in with a doctor. Sometimes, the right support can help bring back confidence and clarity. 4. Repeating yourself without realizing it. It's completely normal to repeat a story once in a while, especially if it's a good one. But with early dementia, you may find yourself repeating the same question, story, or comment several times in a short period, and not remembering that you've already said it. You might ask your spouse, "What time is dinner?" again and again, even after they've answered. Tell your granddaughter the same memory from your childhood twice in the same phone call. Forget that someone just gave you an update, and ask the same question moments later. For example, let's say your neighbor, Ed, drops by to say hello. You tell him about your daughter visiting last week, then, just 5 minutes later, you bring it up again, with the same details and the same excitement. Ed smiles politely, but you can tell he's heard it already. You feel a bit embarrassed, and maybe even confused about how that happened. Or maybe your husband notices that you're asking the same questions about the grocery list or a doctor's appointment several times in a day. It's not intentional, you simply don't remember asking. This kind of repetition can sometimes cause frustration or tension, for you, and for your loved ones. It's important to remember, you're not doing it on purpose. Your brain is just processing things differently right now. While occasional repetition is common with age, frequent and increasing repetition, especially when you're unaware of doing it, could be one of the early signs of dementia. The good news? There's no shame in talking about it. Doctors can help you understand what's happening and check for other possible causes like sleep problems, medication side effects, or depression, all of which can affect memory. 5. Difficulty handling change. Change can be challenging for anyone. But as we get older, it's natural to appreciate familiar routines and comfort in what we know. When you start to notice that small changes or new situations feel overwhelming or upsetting, it might be an early sign of dementia. You might feel confused or stressed when your daily schedule changes, like a new doctor's appointment time or a different TV show on your favorite channel. Find it hard to adjust to new places, like a friend's new home or a different route to the grocery store. Become upset or anxious when plans change suddenly, even if it's something small like a cancelled lunch. Take Mrs. Edith, for example. She's lived in the same neighborhood for decades and loves her quiet mornings. One day, the bus route she always takes is changed. Suddenly, she feels lost and frustrated, not knowing which bus to take or where to get off. This change feels more stressful than it used to. Or think about Mr. George, who's always enjoyed his weekly card game with friends. When the game night moves from Tuesday to Thursday, he feels confused and struggles to remember the new day. The change throws off his whole week. It's okay to feel uneasy about changes. But if you notice that small adjustments are causing more stress or confusion than before, more than just normal frustration, it's a sign to pay attention. If these feelings start happening often, don't hesitate to share them with your doctor or a trusted family member. They can help you find ways to make changes easier and support you through those times. 6. Losing track of time or place. It's common to forget the exact date or day once in a while, especially when your days feel similar. But if you find yourself often confused about what day it is, what month, or even the year, it might be a sign of early dementia. You might forget important events or appointments because the date feels unclear. Feel unsure about where you are, even in places you know well. Get lost while driving or walking somewhere familiar, like your own neighborhood or a favorite store. wonder how you got somewhere, or lose track of time during the day. For example, Mrs. Lillian usually takes a morning walk around her block, but lately she's found herself halfway down a different street and isn't sure how she got there. That feeling of being lost or unsure is frightening, but it's something many people with early dementia experience. Or imagine Mr. Frank, who always loved going to his weekly church service. One Sunday, he gets ready to go but suddenly can't remember if the service is today or next week. He feels confused and worried about missing something important. These moments can be upsetting and sometimes even scary. But remember, you're not alone, and this doesn't mean you're helpless. Many people experience this, and doctors can help you manage these feelings and stay safe. If you notice these kinds of confusion happening regularly, it's important to tell your healthcare provider. They can check for other causes and help you create a plan to keep your independence and peace of mind. Point 7. Trouble concentrating. We all have days when it's hard to focus, maybe when we're tired or there's a lot on our mind. But if you find it increasingly difficult to concentrate on everyday tasks or follow instructions, it could be an early sign of dementia. You might notice struggling to keep your mind on a book, TV show, or conversation. Having trouble following a recipe or instructions that you used to handle easily. Finding it hard to focus when paying bills or filling out forms. Feeling easily distracted, even by familiar sounds or activities around you. For example, Mrs. Joan, who loves knitting, finds herself losing track of the pattern halfway through a row. She feels frustrated because she used to be able to knit without any trouble. Or Mr. Sam, who always enjoyed watching the evening news, now finds it hard to follow the stories and needs to rewind the TV or ask someone to explain what's happening. These changes can make daily life more tiring and sometimes discouraging. But don't worry, this is something your doctor can help assess, and there are ways to support your focus and memory. If you or a loved one notice that concentration is becoming a problem, don't hesitate to seek advice. Sometimes other health issues like fatigue, medication side effects, or mood changes can also affect concentration, and these can be treated. 8. Losing interest in hobbies or activities. Many of us have hobbies, clubs, or activities we look forward to, whether it's gardening, knitting, playing cards, or attending social events. But if you notice that you or a loved one is losing interest in things you once enjoyed, it could be a sign of early dementia. You might feel like hobbies take too much effort or no longer bring joy. Start skipping social gatherings or avoid seeing friends and family. Find it hard to motivate yourself to do everyday things you used to love. Notice that activities that once felt relaxing or fun now feel confusing or tiring. For example, Mrs. Evelyn, who always loved her weekly bridge game with friends, has stopped going. She says she just doesn't feel like it anymore, even though she used to enjoy it so much. Or Mr. Paul, who tended a beautiful garden every spring, finds himself walking past the flower beds without the usual excitement. He's not sure why, but gardening doesn't feel rewarding like it once did. Losing interest can sometimes be mistaken for sadness or tiredness, but when it lasts and is paired with other changes, it's important to pay attention. If this sounds familiar, gently talk to your doctor or a trusted loved one. Sometimes this loss of interest can be linked to mood changes, fatigue, or early dementia, and there are ways to get support. Remember, you don't have to face these feelings alone. Point 9. Mood or personality changes. As we age, it's natural for moods to shift now and then. But if you or someone you love is experiencing sudden or unexplained changes in mood, personality, or behavior, it might be more than just a bad day. It could be an early sign of dementia. You might notice feeling more anxious, suspicious, or easily upset, even in calm situations. Becoming unusually withdrawn or quiet, especially in social settings. Losing patience or becoming irritated more quickly than usual. Showing less interest in others, or seeming emotionally flat or detached. Acting differently than you always have. Friends and family might say, "You just don't seem like yourself lately." For example, Mr. Albert, once the life of the party and always cracking jokes, has become quiet and distant during family dinners. He doesn't seem to enjoy being around others anymore, and his children notice he's more easily irritated when asked simple questions. Or Mrs. Nora, who was always calm and thoughtful, now becomes frustrated over small things, like when her favorite show is interrupted or the mail is late. Her daughter notices she seems more nervous and uneasy, especially in unfamiliar places. These kinds of changes don't happen overnight, and sometimes they're hard to notice at first. Often, it's the people closest to us who notice something's different. It's important to know that these emotional changes are not your fault. They may be caused by the brain working differently, not just by aging or stress. Talking to a doctor can help uncover whether there's a medical reason for the mood changes, such as dementia, depression, medication side effects, or something else that can be addressed. 10. Trouble with visual or spatial awareness. As we get older, our eyesight may change, but if you're noticing more frequent difficulties with judging distance, depth, or recognizing familiar faces or objects, it could be more than just normal aging. These are sometimes early signs of dementia, especially when the brain begins to process visual information differently. You might notice trouble judging how far away something is, like reaching for a cup and missing it, or misjudging a step or curb. Difficulty reading, even if your glasses prescription hasn't changed. Finding it hard to follow the path while walking or driving, turns feel confusing or stop signs are missed. Struggling to recognize familiar faces, places, or even common objects. For example, Mr. Dennis, who's always been a confident driver, begins to feel uneasy behind the wheel. His missing turns is taken for years, backing up too far in the driveway, or stopping too close to other cars. His daughter notices his starting to clip the curb more often and seems more tense while driving. Or consider Mrs. Helen, who enjoys puzzles and crosswords, but now finds them confusing. Even reading a newspaper becomes frustrating. She says the letters look jumbled, or the page layout feels off. These challenges might seem small at first, but when they begin to interfere with daily life or personal safety, like cooking, navigating stairs, or crossing the street, it's time to talk with a healthcare provider. Vision problems can have many causes, including cataracts, glaucoma, or even medication effects. But when they are combined with memory or behavior changes, it's worth exploring further. There are tools and strategies that can help: brighter lighting, contrast-colored edges on stairs, or even magnifiers. But understanding why the changes are happening is the first and most important step. What should you do if you notice these signs? First, take a deep breath. If you or someone you love is showing several of these early signs, please don't panic. Not every memory slip or moment of confusion means dementia. Sometimes, these symptoms can be caused by things like medication side effects, poor sleep, vitamin deficiencies, stress or depression, thyroid issues. The most important step is to talk to a healthcare professional. A proper checkup can help rule out other causes, and if it is dementia, early diagnosis can make a big difference. With early support, you can plan ahead for your care and needs. Explore treatment options that may help slow the condition. Maintain independence longer. Reduce stress for you and your family. It's also a chance to build a support team. Your doctor, loved ones, and community can all walk beside you. Can dementia be cured? Today, most types of dementia cannot be cured, but some causes, like those related to vitamin deficiencies or infections, can be treated and even reversed if caught early. And even when a cure isn't possible, treatments, routines, and healthy habits can help manage symptoms and improve quality of life. What can you do to lower your risk? Think of your brain like a garden. It needs regular care to thrive. Here are a few things you can do. Stay active, gentle walks, stretching, dancing. Eat a balanced diet with plenty of fruits, veggies, and healthy fats. Keep your mind engaged, read, play games, learn something new. Stay connected, talk to friends, join a group, spend time with loved ones. Get good sleep. Manage conditions like high blood pressure, diabetes, or cholesterol. These habits may seem small, but over time, they help protect your brain and your well-being. You're not alone. If something feels off, trust your instincts. Reach out, ask questions, and take care of your health. The earlier you act, the more choices you have, and the more support you can receive.